is who we're talking about. Young Thug tonight, the Illuminati connections, the occult symbolism, all of the control, the worshiping satanic stuff that all gets down to a conversation. Now, I've always told you that we have our pyramid of structure here, the overlords, we have the rulers, and then we have the under control. Now, of course, the overlords, which are deities, it could be, of course, reptilian beings. They're not human. I just want you to know that whoever's above these particular people who are our rulers, the Masonic, the bankers, the government, all of this stuff. And then you get down to the controllers, and who is under control. That will be us, the people that they're doing through celebrities, through all of these people, and no more than this gentleman right here is part of their process when we get down to that. But anyway, Shannon S.B. Stillwell, co-defendant of Young Thug, was arrested in the middle of a goat sacrifice. Yes, if you hadn't heard about that story, but we're going to take it a little more deeper. They just talked about it on the surface a little bit because there was a very tremendous and strenuous intent to make sure it does not get out. And they went all through the court processes to not get it out. And we'll go into some of that, but it was caught on body cam footage. And now, or at that time, Young Thug's lawyer wants it suppressed, not because it was irrelevant. That wasn't his case. He didn't say, okay, you got me, or you didn't. He didn't say you didn't got me. He didn't say, like the song that was out years ago, it wasn't me. Y'all remember that song? It wasn't me. Anyway, you take yourself back to that because it reveals too much, and that's part of the process. And he was like, no, we're not doing it. The official wording that he wanted to make sure that this thing didn't get out or whatever, it was because it was a religious ceremony. People, let that steer into your mind tonight, that this worshiping, this occult stuff that we're going to talk about tonight, this Illuminati stuff, this control mechanisms, the Monarch stuff that's all connected to this, went to court and they called it a religious ceremony. Now, the question is, maybe it's their religion. Maybe it was their religion. But we're going to go a little deeper but those of us who've studied Springmeier, which is, I'm one of the people that studied this right here, the Bloodlines of the Illuminati, and we know what that really means. It was a blood ritual, plain and simple, initiatory. That's what it was. It was symbolic. That's what it was. And was also a very strategic thing that was happening that these people got busted with when it came down. Now, again, in this particular book, The Bloodlines of Illuminati, you got to get this 100-something plus pages or whatever this thing is, 700 pages or 6 or I don't know. It's a really big book. The consistent use of animal and human blood in these elite level programming rituals, especially in the entry rites. Now, you got to make sure I just pointed that out to you. When we're hearing and seeing a lot of these things, they are doing this in what they call a entry rites. They're trying to get in. Now, make no mistake about it. There is a difference between the people holding up these signs saying that they're in the Illuminati when they should be saying they're part of the Illuminati, because they are not in the Illuminati. The only ones that's in that's going to be, once again, I've always told you, those original bloodlines that goes all the way back, and we talk about it here all the way back, and then goes into these reptilians, which this is our foundation here anyway, right? So happens today, we're talking about the bottom layer of this triangle, so stay with me. However, these rites are not random. They are ancient. That's why it goes back to where it goes. So these people are not doing something like, okay, I'm going to walk down to the bottom of the church, and when the pastor calls, anybody want to join or bring your life to whatever, to the church and to God or whatever, come on down here. No, this is an ancient ritual that they were doing to bind the initiated to the system through trauma and offering. That's one of the things that they do, trauma and offering. Something about trauma, and that we all have experienced, which take you to a whole nother place when it comes down to the things that we're talking about. Now, once again, this book, Springmeier, The Elite Bloodline practice rituals and sacrifice because blood is the contract. That's what it is. And they use it to seal loyalty and open up what they call spiritual gateways when they do this. But listen, now here's the game changer when it comes down to this. The footage wasn't accidentally captured. It was actually meant to be seen. And I know you've been saying, what are you talking about? Because only by them and not by us. They had to have it. They had to have it seen. Whoever the powers that be needed to see the ritual, right? Because once the veil drops, and once these masses that understand what this being ritualized in their playlists is what we want to call it, in their concerts, in their fashions, the game is over. And that's all I'm saying. The masses need to understand this. Once the masses, these people under this particular part of the section, that the people in the shadows down there, once they understand what's being ritualized in these playlists, the movies, the whatever you want to call it, the game is over. The fear, I would say they could fear that moment more than being unalived, I will say, when it comes down to that, because it turns over everything. But let me just take you a look further. I've been studying trauma-based ritual system since I read this Springmeier's Illuminati formula and other stuff that they have out there. But the moment that changed everything for me was seeing this particular actual filing long time ago. You know, it was a mainstream legal defense labeling blood sacrifice as a religion. That right there was strange enough. Then, or that's when I kind of said, okay, I realized that they're no longer hiding this. That wasn't done. They weren't trying to hide it. They are just redefining it when it came down to it, because they know that the people in the court system, somebody was going to see it. They had to have proof that it was going on. And how much time could he have gotten from a blood sacrifice of a goat? You know what I'm saying? But we needed to know about it. They needed to know about it. But I was tempted to kind of just let this news cycle, like everything else, another bizarre story, you know, things that I've heard before, another celebrity headline. But since I've been taking us down this rabbit hole of truth versus authority, this rabbit hole of this programming, the obedience code that they're putting out here on us, that ties again back once again to the rulers of this world. And then, of course, we go back to the overlords. Then we go back to my DNA, which is, you know, UFOs, aliens, reptilians, beings, and deities, and all whatever you want to call this stuff, demonic stuff, whatever it is. I knew I couldn't let this one go. I had to backtrack and talk about it in a little with a different set of eyes, because my eyes are totally different than it was when I first heard about this a few years ago. And today it's like, man, once you see it, you can recognize it, you know. But anyway, when you do recognize that that goat isn't just a goat, that it's a Baphomet symbol, all right, so to speak. Let me kind of do it like this for you. It's a Baphomet symbol. Once you figure that part out, it ties to centuries of occult meanings. You can't unsee it, people. You can't unsee it. And you can't stay silent about it. At least I can't. You can't. If you speakers of truth, you're not supposed to stay silent about this at all, period. And that's not something that we're going to do. Now, there is an important lesson here that I want you to go with. And I'm glad you asked, right? Well, what are we going to learn from all this? I'm glad you asked me, because I want to tell you, no problem. What this taught me is just some simple few things here. That the occult isn't underground anymore. See, we go all the way back and we say, okay, Ryder, the occult knowledge is, which we know the meaning of cult is secret, all of that good stuff. But it was a taboo word even itself. And people wouldn't even want to go there. Or he's an occultist. You can call me an occultist. I'm studying it now. Right? But I do take the trademark, the symbolizer. Thank you very much. And it's all about symbols. That is my future talking points as I work for that, you know, but it's mainstream. That's why we see it everywhere. That's why we seen the Kanye West and Taylor Swift a humiliation initial. That's a ritual. You have to be look bad in public. They got to make you or ruin you or try to do something. That is a part of the ritual. And there was no perfect person to pick Kanye to do that stuff than anybody. He was already nut buckets at that point anyway. But it's being laundered through art, normalized by style. This is somebody's style, and protected by lawyers. And you can't get no understanding in that. And I'll repeat that. We're talking art. Oh, it's their style. And then they got legal representation to protect the ridicule, the sensitivity, the lawsuits, if any, or whatever it is. They got their plan together and they know what they're doing. And if we keep pretending it's just entertainment like most of us do, then we're already surrendered to the war of the mind, the human mind. This is what it's all about. This is why truth versus authority exists. It exists not because like it was in a primitive mind of truth versus authority, where, oh man, authority, we can't believe just because it's the pastor or whoever's in charge, just because they are in authority, what they say is truth. Then, and I was stood by that, and I still said it's part of the equation. But as I've gotten further down this thing and start studying the infinite consciousness awareness and all of the way that we're in this construct of have all of this is being happened, then I realize that as much as I could say this, that we are all in the minds of God. And if we're in his mind doing where we are, then obviously there's things in our mind. And that is where the power is. And it's why the authority is the mind. So we got to go with truth versus authority, and possibly the authority is the mind. And we think because we see it, we believe it. We think because we can touch it, it's just as real as it get. Man, they're figuring out ways to make sure all of that is not true. However, through the silver lining, we can raise our conscious, our vibrations, and then all of that mess doesn't reach you. This is where we're going to go. And I just took a detour. I know I took a detour. I shouldn't have went there because I need to be talking about what's the deal with this footage suppression motion. Why did they file it? In fact, I got a court document of it. There it is right there on screen. And there is a line in the second paragraph down there. You can't see it, but it says, although this issue does not directly involve Mr. Williams, and as he was never involved in the arresting on March 17th, not charged with the drink supposed murder or unalive, law enforcement officers arrested Mr. Shannon Stillwell at the address 2481 Meadowlark Drive, East Point, Georgia, while in the midst of a religious ceremony which involved supposed sacrifice of goats. A sacrifice of this magnitude of goats. Now, I don't know about you, but I think that it is a crazy scenario to understand that. However, Young Thug's legal team at this time filed that a motion to suppress the bodycam footage showing his co-defendant, Shannon Stillwell, mid goat sacrifices during the arrest. The frame is as a religious ceremony, a term strategically used to cloak the deeper implication under what they call the First Amendment protections. Okay, whatever, right? We already know the Illuminati stuff. We already know when they're talking about goats, it is tied to Baphomet. If you don't know it, you should know it. Go look it up, okay? We should already know where this is going when it comes down. And make no mistake about it, them shoes he got right there with blood and snakes and stuff on it, that's reptilian stuff, people. We can get to that. We can go all the way back to these overlords. That's why people don't believe that the reptilian myth is where it is. They're not playing with this. They're not playing with this. However, it never names the ritual. It never did. It doesn't clarify which religion, because it wasn't one. And it doesn't explain why the goat was being slaughtered at a precise moment, a police raid, because to do so would open the door to intent, pattern, and power structures. Let me say that again. This is why we're talking about this conspiracy stuff. And some people want to look at it, but we got to go higher than the word that, right? We got to go higher than that, because once again, it doesn't explain why that goat was being slaughtered at the precise moment of a raid. They knew that at the precise moment, this needed to be going down. They knew it, where they aligned it, however it would be, because that motion that they filed in court that I have right here, that I put on the screen for you, proves one thing: the ritual was real. You can't get no past that one. And if you don't know where this goes now, you can't get not past the fact that the ritual was real as it get, people. All right. And the powerful enough that defense fears that it will trigger in the minds of the public, and they know what the imagery, the symbolism, and the truth, it breaks the illusion. They had to call it that. They had to go that route. And this wasn't fiction. It was a documentation, and documentation beat conversation any day of the week. You should know that already. However, if you go into Springmeier stuff, and I keep pointing it out, this is where it goes deeper than the headlines will want to go. The headlines are not going to go where I'm about to take you right now. They're just not going to do it. This is why we do what we do here, why we do what we do in our uncensored area and all of that stuff. The headline is not going to take you there, because animal sacrifices is the gateway to demonic, what I would say, hierarchy, so to speak, or connection, I would say. Sacrificing them goats, man, is the gateway. It's the gateway to these demons and all of these places. It's one of them. It's like a little combination. And Springmeier in his book laid it out with precision in the bloodlines of this Illuminati stuff. And he has another big book that I got for my birthday as a gift, Be Wise as a Serpent. Those blood rituals that they talk about in their stuff create what they call spiritual contracts. We all know contracts exist. When I had my experience, they told me they had to tell me about my soul contract. That was the first thing that I was told about in detail, my soul contract. So if you think that you can't sign a different contract, obviously you can. Obviously you can get out of one contract and get into one of them. And then I've heard that one of them other ones you get into, you are not getting out of that one. Not without a blood sacrifice, either to get in or to get out. Allegedly, I would assume. Now, the sacrifice is not symbolic. It's transactional. That's important for you to know this. The blood sacrifice is transactional. It's not symbolic. It has to be done. It's you do this, you get that. If you do it this way, you get over here that way. It's not symbol. Oh, I'm in Illuminati because I did the sacrifice. No, it's transactional, period. It opens access to non-human intelligences. And just as it has way back centuries ago, this has been going on for a long time. So just keep that in mind, that this is what happens when they do this, because blood as a legal binding in occult traditions, that's exactly what it is. And in a whole lot of other ways today. And in these systems, blood is not just fluid, people. It's a signature. Now, I could just say that, you know that, but if you go back to real things with us, why our birth certificates are in red, that's a reason for that. The numbers or whatever they're doing down there, it's blood. It's a blood signature. It all goes all the way back to why the aliens, when they come, they're looking for blood and DNA. The Illuminati, everything is tied through that the ritual itself, but it's a signature, and it's the binding ink for spiritual oaths. And you remember when we were kids, or I was, or we used to like pinky whatever, and you were like, come on, do a blood, and we didn't even know in kids what the hell that meant, but we did it. Oh yeah, come on, do it, pinky swear, and then little blood, whatever. You know, we was doing that when we was kids and didn't even know. It was just like a neighborhood journey, craziness, right? That's all it was. You know what I'm saying? And whatever it was. But anyway, whether in elite rituals, ancient Babylonian rites, modern satanic practices, the concept is the same. The blood seals the deal. And I'll say it again. The blood seals the deal. That's how it is. And that's exactly what they were doing and have been doing and will continue to do when it comes down to those things. The blood seals the deal. I just want you to know. What deal was being sealed that night is the question. What was he doing in 2022 that he needed to do a blood goat Baphomet style ritual sacrifice contract signing? What was he doing? And the goat is never just a goat. It is the serpent. It's never just a tattoo. The serpent that he puts on those shoes is not just a little, well, it'll be this way for you. The serpent that he put on these shoes is not just a little decoration. The fact that those shoes are fucking blood red is not just, so obviously whoever bought them is doing a ritual to him. And he's saying, and remember, if I'm not mistaken, he was putting a drop of blood in these shoes. Am I correct? Am I wrong? Or was that somebody else doing that? Let me know in the chat, because if I'm not mistaken, this guy was selling these shoes with a drop of blood in them. Or was it someone else doing it too? And let me know, because I know y'all keep up with this stuff. But what I'm saying is, this is where we're going with this, right? Now, link the goat symbol to Baphomet as I take you down this little rabbit hole. The goat has always long represented Baphomet. It's always been kind of what they call a center-headed deity used in cult rituals, all right? Often symbolizing duality, sacrifice, the power of the spiritual realms. Stilwell's act was not a cultural footnote. It was a public glimpse into the ancient allegiance. Now, the other part of that is, you see over here on his shoes, that serpentry, and that is our bottom line here when it comes back to this, is the reptilian side. We do this. Reptilian side is the one we do when it comes down to that. All right. So why the serpent imagery is always present in the elite music symbolism? Because you're tying it into this elite music symbolism from Drake, and he has his connections to the Moloch, I think Moloch, which is kind of an owl too. Little Uzi, whatever, little Lucifer, is it what they want to call him? I don't know how he got away with that name, mockery or not. To Young Thug's own snake theme visuals, the serpent motif. This stuff isn't anesthetic, it's ancestral. And it's the reference to Serpent Bloodlines detailed in this book. And, I've always understood the symbolism of the owl, can see in the dark, can get hidden knowledge. And I've adapted that a long time ago. And now I bring it out as luminous. We need to illuminate ourselves with esoteric knowledge. Or it's got nothing to do with what they're talking about. But anybody out there, you can turn around and put an owl in your front yard, and now it's going to symbolize some stuff for you. Hell, you put it there at night, them birds won't even fly around it. They'll be like, nah, we ain't stopping at this crib. However, in this particular bloodline, detailed in Springmeier exposes those bloodlines are not underground. They are the architects of modern pop culture. Why would they spend so much time and money to control this area of the pyramid? Okay, so today we're in the bottom part of the pyramid tonight. So this is going to always, you're going to know where we are when we show our 3-step of our pyramid, where we are in conversation, because it all makes sense. It all makes sense when it comes down to this. Now we'll talk about the other part of this, MKULTRA and the trauma bonding. It all connects. So just work with me here. This is not about symbols. It's about psychological control. They introduced the concept of trauma as a gateway control. Trauma, we all know it. All of us have been traumatized some kind of way to force us to think, feel, and look and react. Trauma just does it. It just does it. You know, and the Illuminati formula, Springmeier and this other guy named Cisco, I got their little stuff, and they detail how these ritual trauma fractures the psyche. And blood rights are the key part of the initiating what they call dissociation and splitting the mind to create a programmable sub-identities. They're doing that. This is not science fiction. That's intelligence agency doctrine. I told you I got the whole manual. I told you we've been learning, and we had our first meeting on it Thursday. Oh, they got some good stuff Thursday night, the other night, or last night. Was it Thursday last night? Yeah. And we're reversing this stuff and going to use it for power for our own family dynasties and learn how to unlock some of this crazy stuff. But they're doing this, and it was an intelligence agency, billions and trillions of dollars at their exposure to perfect it. Make no mistake about it. And the greatest part of it is it's good enough to where people don't even think it's them that has been done. That's the other part. Music as a ritual echo of this trauma. Much of the mainstream rap today is ritualized trauma on a loop, period. Violence, right? Sacrifice, people being unalive, repeated across beats and visuals. The repetition isn't just entertainment. It mirrors the programming scripts of the Monarch style control. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Now, I'm just going to let some cat out of the bag. So when we talked about our MKULTRA, the understanding leadership through ritual ascension, it is repeat, 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 repeat your messaging, for a leadership in business, because the same program is the same. And you probably know that repetition, repetition. So when you out there promoting yourself to you, your boss, to whoever, your lover or whatever, give them repetition. You are who you are. You're the best thing ever happened to them. Repeat that and watch what happens. Repeat it. However, what I'm saying is, and when an artist lives out the ritual in real time, caught on tape, it confirms their connection. So the music is their spell, the ritual is real, and the mind is the target. That's what it is. That's how simple it gets. This is where they're located. And as we get ready to end this first segment, we got 3 of these tonight. And like I said, if you wanted to come and get into the conversation, you're welcome. But this wasn't just a one-off arrest. This was a moment of rupture. And then, of course, in this next segment, we're going to go into deeper layers. We're going to go into how all of this stuff ties into that programming, the bloodlines behind the labels, so that the evidence that your favorite rappers may not even be fully conscious of who they serve. People, that's how good this thing works. Some of these people have no clue to who they serve. And with that, all I can tell you is that it's very interesting. And we're going to go into, I would say, our next segment right after this. All right, so we're talking about the programming of these personas that we're going to get into. And you thought the ritual was just a scandal, but this was just a trigger. You better believe it. The real story is what's happening after the blood hits the floor, is where we're going to go into. Because if Young Thug and many others are not fully, what I should say, we'll get into it. Hang on a second here. Let me turn this down for y'all a little bit. And I don't even know why it started, but it does it on its own. But let me get into, say to you that the rituals was a scandal, that it was just a trigger. As I was saying, the real story happens after the blood hits the floor. So when you're talking about these rituals, because if Young Thug and many others aren't fully conscious of what they are part of, a lot of times they're just not. They're just in this trance. They have no clue. But what if the modern music industry is built on the same blueprints as MKULTRA, a Monarch, and elite trauma programming? And you've been dancing to a sound of their chains. A lot of you been in clubs before. The right song come on, the hands go up. Shoot, I've been in places where if all the gangsters' guns come out, it just took a trigger. And it wasn't somebody said, pull your guns out. It was a certain tone, music, and they just come out. You know what I'm saying? It's a program trigger. And it was done by music. It wasn't done by no command. Nobody in the song said, pull your guns out. It was something else undertone that did that. It was very perfect the way it went. Now, if you're thinking that that's all there is, I got another thing to tell you. Because we're told that artists like Young Thug are rebellious. That's how they portrayed him, that he's creative. He's completely in control of their image. Oh, they got their own consultants. They all this is down. We're told that, I remember seeing stuff back in the day. Oh, this guy got artistic freedom. Even when them crazy shoes came out. And then all of a sudden, them tattoos, the goat heads, inverted crosses, serpents are showing up everywhere. It's one of those things. Let me turn my thing off here. All right, y'all give a shout out to Rainbow Light Warrior. We got our first contribution of tonight. And thank you very much, because this is a self-funded show, a community-funded show. And with your support and everybody supporting us, we're able to continue to bring and go deeper as we go. And if any of you find any value tonight, there is the cash app right there on the screen. And your appreciation will be noted seriously. We were told that these tattoos, these goat heads, and all of this was anesthetics. It's just, they just looking like this. But again, if you study the MKULTRA, you'll see, even in Fritz Springmeier in this book, he breaks it all down to trauma-based mind control, and you'll see the patterns. These aren't just symbols of rebellion. They are the systems of control that they use. In many cases, these artists don't even know they're following the script. They really don't. Most of them don't even know. And while this is far worse than what we think, it really is, because that system, that Monarch system that they exposed in that was been exposed in a lot of books out there, and how they can create what they call the undetectable mind slaves. And through the trauma, through fragmentation, through programming, it begins the ritual trauma. It started. But I've told you before, it goes all the way back when we was all kids watching all these Disney films and all this stuff, start looking this stuff up. And how do we break free from it? Well, we know that. We talk about this here. But again, that blood sacrifice, the sex violence that's out there, the isolation, the emotional collapse, we see this every day. We see some of these stars just watch their ages around 30 and 31 when this thing, the altar shifts and breaks. They all go crazy about that time. Just start checking the ages when some of these people go crazy, and I guarantee you'll know what I'm talking about. But the purpose is to split the psychic up. And it's allowed those handlers to install the altars in what they're doing. Plain and simple. It really does that. But also many of these victims, these entertainers, these actors, and let me just put this thing back up right here so you'll know what I'm talking about. A lot of these actors, musicians, and public influencers, because they have been designed to influence others. And once you learn the signs, you begin to see them everywhere in the industry. We're going to be pointing those things out as we go into our conspiracies of what we do. You know, and before we do that, I think it is safe to say that here is a perspective that most people don't think about. If it's true, the artists are crafted. They're not created. Then every song, every video, every public scandal is a programmed event. Remember, I told you, nothing just happens. Nothing just happens. And now a ritualized performance meant not to just entertain, is to initiate, trigger, and reinforce control structures. Now, I didn't go into this a little bit, but that blood on the floor wasn't just for show. It was for reinforcement, period. And if that's the case, when you hear there's no longer music, then it's the spell work. That's what you're going to call it. And so we can just go into that a little bit. Real quickly, this is in your private area. So for those of you who got the membership, I want to refer some to you. In this document, he talks about the victims are chosen for their dissociative potential. They undergo these extreme trauma splits in the mind, early childhood abuse, ritual sacrifice, stage, unalives, all kinds of stuff. Altars are created and coded with symbols, scripts, and stage personas. You're hearing it now, how powerful. They use symbols. The same symbols that we talk about, it's time for you to use in your businesses, in your all your structures, because they are powerful and they're coded and written to the human consciousness. This is why these people control billions of dollars in sales and everything else. So again, remember, when you learn this power and knowledge, it is what you intend to use it for. If you're a good person, then good people are going to do good things with the power. Bad people is going to do the bad thing. That's why you have a superhero that's on the bad side and the good side. They both got superpowers from the same God, period. That they did. And same as you. You all got superpowers. How you use them and how you want. So don't be afraid to access the power, the flame, the esoteric knowledge, so that you can activate your powers. There's a lot of people walking around, I got superpowers, and don't know nothing more than they look up and the sun is whatever. And they think they got superpowers. Okay. But the question is, why does it matter in music? Why is music is the connector? Because many artists shows their split personalities, the amnesia, the extreme behaviors. They're showing this stuff. Young Thug uses altars, shifting voice tones, if you ever heard him, fashion extremes, and disassociative performances, raise all kinds of red flags, and consistent of the handlers creating this identity. Look at some of these people. Doja Cat, look at some of these people. Do you think they're at home and they thought of that themselves? Hell, I just started studying the greatness of Michael Jackson. And then how he was tied to Alexis Crowley or whatever, who everybody know who that is. How when he did his last, that statue, when he was, I forget the name of it, and then on his sleeve, he had the 777, honoring the dude. And then I start seeing some of his music scripts, and we'll talk about it, had all kinds of stuff of who they worshiping and what he's doing. He was singing that stuff. Yeah, Michael Jackson. Now that makes sense when the guy, if y'all go back and look at the video, who was here last year talking about the Jacksons and his dad with the Shalites and how they was doing all these rituals, it's now making sense. We all thought he was crazy as bananas. He was there. Nobody believed him. Go back. Y'all seen the video. We did 2 of them with him. We interviewed him. And now you go back and look at Michael Jackson's stuff. It's sitting right there in plain sight. Look at some of the words. Look at the songs. Look at what he was saying. Look at stuff he was doing. Why he didn't get any sleep. Why he was told that the sleep deprivation and stuff that he was going through was his access to harness. Why he bought the beaters analogy and all that stuff so he can harness that stuff. He had a whole plan and why he felt, and remember, he always starts saying that he got his music through sleep. Y'all remember that? And then all of a sudden, it was why he kept trying to sleep. Now it's purported hell. The dude would take stuff to, and this is not a Michael Jackson show, but he would take stuff so he can sleep for days, so he can access and get the songs, the stuff that he wanted. Yeah. I'm just saying. It's just saying. And you're right. I mean, not everything the dude that was here said some stuff, but regardless, he may have had a good access to some information too. But I will say this. A direct quote from this book was that the programmers will install altars that are unaware of each other and can be switched via trauma, codes, and everything else. That was one of the things that they was talking about, and how deeply that they would go. Now, the industry that we're talking about is a programming facility, people. This is how they roll. And what people don't know, that most of these labels are not media companies. They're function as behavior control units tied into a larger network of elite finance, intelligence, and occult structures. You already know that. You've been watching it. You get it. And you want to talk about Jimmy Lovin or whatever, Lila Cohen, other high-level gatekeepers are documented in elite circles with bloodline connections. Many of these artists, like I said, they go through public rituals, arrests, breakdown, overdoses, followed by sudden fame and spikes. All of this, it just comes right after that. Class, trauma, rebuild cycles. That's what it is. That's what it is. It is. It's like they just have a class for this thing, and now it becomes classic. It's just what they do. And the pattern, so that you know, the pattern is scandal, isolation, rebranding, and ascension. If you don't think I'm talking about that, go check out Kanye West, Britney, Justin Bieber, Young Thug, who we talking about tonight. The pattern is scandal, isolation, rebranding, ascension. That's the whole pattern. They all do the same pattern. It does. Now, there's a reason why these songs reinforce the programming, so that you know. Music itself is used as a delivery system for ritual symbols, trigger codes, and subconscious reinforcement. The reason I got this lady at the bottom down here, Young Thug's video with her with Little Uzi or whatever, Little Lucifer and some other people, is filled with inverted crosses, serpents, blood things. They use the Monarch reinforcement codes for disassociated personalities and ritual meanings. Yeah, and they're doing this thing. You think this is a joke? Do you think she called her mom and said, "Mom, I'm wearing this today. What do you think?" You think she called her cousin, her friends, her sisters? Maybe. This is what I'm wearing. Oh yeah, this is how we doing it tonight. Really? What advice would you have gave if you took a picture and saw that? Because trauma-based systems rely on audio triggers, certain frequencies, phrases, visual combinations to activate and suppress specific alters. The programming is there. Hell, some of us could have some, and we just hadn't heard it yet. Could have some type of programming. We just haven't heard it yet. Bad as it sounds, we just haven't heard it. Modern parallel to all of this is that these same patterns are embedded in high production videos, repeated symbols, like I said, inverted logic, sexual cues, presented as art. I saw some stuff the other day. Madonna was in a freaking cemetery, masturbating in front of a tombstone. What? That was crazy. I'm like, are you serious? He's 67 years old. Still making it look sexy, though, obviously. But in here is something I'm going to share with you. When we look at this pyramid, once again, it always come back to this. It goes right here, people, the rulers. The same bloodlines he outlined in this book or in the Bloodlines of the Illuminati. You want to get you some and study this stuff. The same family section right here, right there, those people. That is the Rothschilds. They finance an occult influence. They've been having it since day one. Now their names are changing over time. The Russells, which is a Masonic Watchtower origins. Go look these people up. The Collins family, the Kennedys, the Rockefellers, media, politicians, pharmaceuticals. These families are not chasing fame. They're not doing that. They don't have to. They're not chasing fame. They figured it out because they're chasing the control of the mind. They don't have to chase fame. They go, well, you ain't putting me out there. Let's put them out. That's why I told you, and I continue to tell you. So the next time a person walk up to you and say, "Oh, I'm in Illuminati," tell them, go take your crazy self somewhere else, dude. You're not in the Illuminati. You're a part of the Illuminati. You one of their minions. But unless you got some blue blood and some stuff, you are not the Illuminati. But you're a part of you're part of their structure and their systems that they put together. And yeah, you can go around claiming, because you don't never see none of them doing it. None of them. Now they do in secret handshakes when they take pictures and all of this stuff. So they do put it out there for people to know, especially if they know this photo is going to be mass shown all over the world. But again, these families are not chasing the fame that everybody else is chasing. They're not doing that. They are doing this because the best mind control slave is one who believes that they are free. So when they put this obedience code in place, they got it. They got it. So, and once you understand this Monarch programming, you'll stop laughing at the celebrity breakdowns. You'll stop calling it crazy, period. Because what we're witnessing is a ritualized association of public consumption. You'll start seeing what's happening, what's really happening. And you're not just watching entertainment. You're watching engineered personas created to program us. That's all it's about. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. And then you protect yourself from it. You know, don't even laugh at it no more. You're like, you slick son of a gun. I ain't falling for that one. That's where you're going to go with this, plain and simple. So as we get out of this segment and get into our last segment, and like I said, if any of you want to come to talk about what we're talking about tonight with this crazy dude, let me know in the chat in a little bit. Otherwise, we'll be out of here. Not now, but soon enough. What's happening in the chat? Nothing against him. I respect the hustle, but that is it. Someone else said, if I did research and gave it to Roderick, he'll ignore it because he doesn't fit the narrative he wants to push here and the clickbait and views, and he wants to get with the thumbnail and title of this. Well, start your own show. Why don't you do that? And, you know, that'll be good. And we'll listen to you if you got something to say. Yeah. So don't waste your time giving me no research. Yeah, you're right. I probably wouldn't. I don't even know who you are. You know what I'm saying? But start your own show. And then you can do what you want. But I bet you won't do it, though. I bet you ain't even got the wherewithal to do it. You ain't even got the courage to do it. You don't. Especially with throwaway, let's throw you away or whatever. This is what I'm talking about. You know, people, you know, part of that programming. Now, you think I'm baited in to, I bet you if I show, you think I'm going to say, okay, now you send it to me? Come on, man. Please. Are you crazy enough? Come on, man. Start your own show. See, this is what I'm talking about. People, we have if you got it in you to speak the truth, come on out the dark. Speak the truth. I'm not hiding. Everybody know who I am. They know, okay, I got a lot more exercise and the eating right I got to do. It's nothing hiding here. You know what I'm saying? And that's part of the programming, period. You know, that's part of the programming. Yeah. He did. What do you mean he didn't do a ritual? What are you talking about? He sacrificed a goat. They was there. You don't call a goat sacrifice rituals? You talking about you did not do the ritual. Well, why are you here? What got you here? What do you mean clickbait? I didn't. It was a question mark there. So you can answer the question. It said goat, question mark, ritual, question mark. You know what question mark mean? You could do that. Doug, oh, yes, he was there. Come on, Ben. Are you kidding me? He was, hell, his lawyer. I got the court document right here. I just put it on the screen. I guess I need to put it in some notes for you. He was there. The police said he was there. Yeah. Yeah. And his friend too. He was in it. That's why his lawyers wanted suppressed. He didn't get caught sacrificing the goat. The friend was doing it, but he was there. That's why his lawyers was there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, find out. He was there. He was in court right here. And yeah. And he was there right here. He was there with his friend, Stillwell, who was one who was arrested. But Young Thug's lawyers was the one who filed to have it suppressed because they didn't want it seen. So why would his lawyers do that? Yeah. Anyway, let's continue. Everything was uncovered so far leading to what I call this moment. And like I said, you know, start your own show and then give us a link and I'll come watch it. Then you can, so I'll entertain that. Yeah, because you watch mine, I'll watch yours. Thank you. Fair enough. Everything was uncovered so far has been leading to this moment where we're at, because this wasn't about Young Thug. It was about you. It was about, you know, what you consume, what you repeat, what you let in, and what you fail to recognize. Me too, all of us. The goat on the floor wasn't the climax. It was the start of a larger rite. And now, let me show you how this ends when we get to this. So this next part is where most people mess up, like the throwaway guy. We believe we got free will. We believe we choose our music, our heroes, our culture. But every symbol, every scandal, every creative expression has followed the same design: trauma, programming, reinforcement, collapse, rebirth. And the cycle doesn't just shape celebrities. It shapes all of us. It always has. And here's where it gets really fascinating if you look a little deeper into where I'm going with this. If you studied Monarch doctrine like MKULTRA systems, Springmeier's blueprint, then you know that the system goal isn't fame. It never had been. It ain't trying to make you famous. But they probably go to people and say, I'll make you famous. And it's influence through programming avatars, through ritualized trauma, all of this stuff. This is why I bring it up, because it's part of the conspiracy. It's part of what we see on TV. It's part of some in our political arenas. It's part in our daily lives. It's out there completely. And anytime I get into a subject, talk about how things going and what people are doing, people get a dissociate. They disconnect from it because no one, and I forget a quote, and somebody might know it, but it was saying it is a lot harder. I think it was like it's a lot harder to tell people they've been fooled than fooling them or something. I forget how it is. Some of y'all may have heard it before. I'm sure. Put it in the chat, and then I'll put it on the screen. But it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder when it comes down to that. Now, once again, those embedded triggers and sound, media, and symbols and everything, these artists who already been fragmented and rebuilt to train the public to love their own chains. That's how they want us to do it. But this might be, again, might be really simple, but there's more to it. If this is all true, then every beat, every hook, every drop isn't sound. It's a sigil. And we're going to be talking about that more and more in these shows. It's a trigger. It's a code. If once you know the code, you don't dance to it anymore. You dismantle it. That's what we do here. That's what we're doing here. Because it's a code. It's a trigger. That's what they're doing. But once you know it, once your awareness to it, it's like you buying a new car. You all remember your first car. And all of a sudden, right after you bought that car, within a day or two, you start seeing these cars everywhere. Because now they're no longer invisible to your consciousness. It's no longer running on autopilot. Because that car triggered the code or your mind to say this car exists. This car exists. And now all of a sudden you can see the same models everywhere. Everywhere. And like I said, once you see it, you don't dance to it anymore. There's certain beats in the music I just don't dance to. For what? It's not going to trigger me to do something. You know, you get what I'm saying? Because the war was never a battlefield. It was between our ears is where the battle is. It's right here and right here. You know what I mean? And the only more powerful thing than programming is a decision to wake up. That is probably one of the most powerful things. But I will say this, though. A little personal piece to this all so that you get where I'm coming from. At first, I thought this was just another scandal. Maybe another rapper, another arrest, another deflection. But then I saw the pattern, the ritual pattern. Then I went back and rewatched some of the stories. I read them, reread the filings. I realized it wasn't random. It was a ritual disassociation on display. And every new layer confirmed it, that this was Monarch control repackaged as pop culture. That's all it was. And it's exactly what they did. That's exactly what they did. Okay, there we go. There we go. Thank you, Ann. It's easier to fool people than convince them that they have been fooled. There you go. Thank you so much. I'm just going to leave that for a minute. Now, I appreciate you looking it up. Oh, somebody else said it too. Okay. Mark Twain, Southside. Okay, I'm gonna flip it between you and Ann. Thank you. There you go, right there. There you go. Oh, Jen says, Rod, I'm gonna back you up tonight. I think I got it hooked up. We'll see. If not, I can put a link though. We'll be done in a few minutes, though. Be ready. Appreciate you. So once I said I saw everything, and the worst moment wasn't the goat sacrifice in this deal. It was the silence around it. Nobody asked what religion that was. Just like you see the throwaway guy. Oh, man, you got it all wrong. Clickbait. His friend wasn't even there. He ain't even focusing on the goat sacrifice himself. He just want to come and tell me that the guy wasn't there because he watched somebody else and the guy wasn't there. And if I was to give Rod some research, he wouldn't use it. I wouldn't use it because your ass can't see it. You ain't got it. You don't have it. Just admit it. You don't have it. Because we're talking about the sacrifice here. Yeah, I use him because he's part of it and people know who he was. Or obviously the court document says it. But it's the ritual sacrifice that the Illuminati, these cults, symbolism, ritual, these deities, satanic stuff is what this is all about and how they're after our minds. This is what this conversation is about. Make it make sense. Then come. But the other part of this, again, nobody questioned why the music video and the murder scenes blur together. Ain't nobody saying that. We're going to defend the rapper. That's when I knew the system didn't just hijack artwork, it hijacked perception. What we just got there in the chat. It worked. It hijacked perception. And everybody know if you involved and you hanging around or whoever all together is everybody. We know that. There's more people in trouble being around Puffy that didn't do the lotion, but they was there. There's more people who didn't do the stuff that Puppy did, but they watched him, and they're going to get in trouble just the same way for association. That's how that works. That's exactly how it works. But you'll be the perfect person to be on the jury, and he'll get away. Now, the turning point for me is when I realized that the ritual exposure is part of the ritual, and that they don't care if we see the goat anymore. He's out of there. He's gone. In fact, they want us to see it without understanding it, because confusion keeps you compliant. Hear me out, Mr., sir, ma'am, whoever you are. The fact is, the confusion keeps you compliant. You confused. But interpretation, and you get it, you watch the shows long enough, that's rebellion. And that's the true threat, is why we hear truth versus authority. It's the rebellion. Now, if you watch me long enough, you're going to get it now. You'll know. You'll know. And sometimes it could be a little harder. It could be where people think, oh, what he's saying is crazy. That's okay. There'll be a lot of people that just don't want to hear all of that. They'll be like, nah, man, that's petty or whatever. But this just shows you what we're up against and how we can change that. We can help each other. We can be there. We can overcome the powers that the structure that these people have put together flawlessly right here. And you can look it up because it exists and it continues to exist right in our faces. Now, the temptations was always there to brush it off. They say it's just culture. It's anesthetic, is what they say. Excuse me. The more I dug into, the more I realized the symbols, the same ones that Fritz Springmeier warned about in his book, the same ones used in ancient bloodline rites, recycled for new generation of slaves. That's how it's all was put together. So here's what some of this stuff taught me, is that entertainment is not neutral as we would think. Sounds is not harmless. We already know the power of sound, and symbols don't repeat themselves for no reason. And what we call hip hop rebellion is often ritual submission, dressed in gold with a little fire to it or whatever. And you don't escape it by boycotting it. You escape it by naming it, calling a duck a duck. And once you name it, you break the spell. As long as you know what it is. Same thing in the trauma-based stuff that I've been going through. Once you can call it out, you get rid of it. Once you recognize it and observe it, you know. It's when you don't know is the problem. It's when you don't know is the problem. Now, if you're thinking that's all there is, then let me break it down a little more, because that's why, look on the screen. That goat is the Baphomet spirituality of duality. The serpent that you see again on his shoes is ancient Gnostic deception. Those inverted crosses that you see up there is glitch or inverted glitch. The cross is glitch in visuals. These are not design choices. They're operational commands. That's exactly what they are. And in the Monarch system, these symbols become anchors and they keep the altars in place. You know what I'm saying? And they train the subconscious to obey. That's what they do. That's what they do. He said, good brother, I salute you for your contribution to this powerful year of revelation. The more we make known, the more we have a chance to change the wicked agenda of the elites. Search Big King Sadi. All right. Y'all search him up and give a brother a look at and everything else. Welcome. You're so correct. You know, we have to bring more light to it all, because I think that's where it all stands. The war for our minds, not think I know. Now, real quickly, the public ritual architect, every breakdown, every overdose as we're coming to a close, the meltdown is all stage managed trauma. The public watchers, they react, they feel, they share, unknowingly participate in the ritual itself. Think about it. I'm just going to say a few things and let me know if it's the Britney shaved her head, Kanye screamed on stage, Thug's co-defendant killed a goat, co-defendant, sir. The media plays in the chaos, but those of us who know, we just see the choreography. We just see the plan. For the ones who know, we just see the plan. And for you, all of you truth seekers, it's just a choreographic symbolism of elite control that they're just trying to dance and do the music. And we can just see it and be like, whatever, man. We ain't going for that. And this is what the elite understood because they know there's a blur between reality and program. And if you blur the performance and possession, people stop asking. They just consume. And when they consume program art, they become programmable people. And if you won't name it, you won't break the illusion. Then if you're already under the influence, then because silence is the final ritual act, then the only response that break it is truth spoken unapologetically. That's why I do not apologize to what I just said today, person, because it's the truth and it's spoken. And if he's going to speak his truth or anyone else, come forward because we need more truth seekers and now truth speakers is the next level that we need. We need it. Not hide behind anonymity, whatever. My name is Roderick Martin. I live in Dallas, Texas. I'm right here. You know who I am. Now, if I hid my face here and took myself off this camera and put a picture up and start talking, my name is, I don't know, Heavy D. And all you saw was this on the screen the whole time I was talking. How long would you be here for that? Probably not long. Probably not long. You ain't got time to hear somebody you can't see. You're not going to go for that. Not on the long run. And there are some channels that are way bigger than mine. Some of them I've seen the person that's speaking never shows this picture, and yet he has an audience huge. Nobody even know who it is. They don't even know if it's psyops. They don't know, but they say some good stuff because some of them I watched. And finally looked up and like, who the hell is talking? Who do we know? But it works. They're good. Some of them got a lot of knowledge and probably why they stay hidden because some of that stuff is lethal. They may not need nobody to know who they are. And in those cases, I understand. I truly understand. There are some people out there that said some stuff. They better not let people know who they are. And that is one of the things that I would say, period. Now, you understand that the music was never music. It was just larger. It's a ceremonial. And the young thug was just an altar boy. The real priests, the ones behind the curtains, they've been doing this in Babylon, people. And the final seal is almost in place because they are working towards something. Now that you've seen the system, you can no longer use it. They can't use it on you once you start knowing it. But awareness is just the first stage. The real war begins when you take control of the same blueprint and that they use to enslave us and flip it. This is what some of the training we did Thursday and what I call the Monarch Keystone method. Oh yeah, they tagged it, and it's MKULTRA. They got MKULTRA, we got MKULTRA, but our Ultra stands for Unleashed Leadership Through Ritual Ascension. Why not? They already said how they can use whatever they use, but you put your positive intentions behind it. You got something that's going to really help somebody. You want to put yourself in a position to be right and do good things. Then use the same information and put yourself in a position to lead positively. Have a product that works or whatever it is, not something that a billion people buying. Back in when I was young, McDonald's had 1 billion served. I don't know what it is now, trillion maybe. But if you can create healthy stuff, but use the same methods to get people to come, because you got to get them to come. Otherwise, they won't know. They won't know. It's like people are dying of thirst of knowledge right now. And some people got the knowledge in their hand. Just metaphorically, this is knowledge. And there's people walking around. They may watch this show. They might watch other shows like me, and they're getting the knowledge. And they're walking around holding it, dying of knowledge thirst. They're literally dying of knowledge thirst every single day, but yet they hold it in their hands. They carry it with them. They know they have it. They switch hands with this knowledge, and yet they're thirsty, because what they don't figure out is what most people don't figure out. They don't know why it doesn't work. And the reason it doesn't work, because it only works when you drink it. It only works when you drink it. You can hold it and come get it all day long, but if you ain't going to apply it, it doesn't work. It doesn't work if you don't do it. So my thing is, what I'm starting to teach in in the classes and the things that we teach in there is not just theory. It's a reversal. It's a rewriting. It's a weapon forged the exact mold of their control system, but with an intent of awakening, build, and activating your divine empire, period. And what they did with fragmentation, we now going to do with focus. I have a whole system, and it's been all rechanged for us. What they did to use for trauma, we converted into transformation, period. Where they triggered altars, we now